Hello, hello, world changers. Welcome to week two of the World Class Ticket to 2024. It's such a pleasure to have you on today. And this week we kick off Tech Week. We're going to talk all about tech, your online presence, making sure you're ready for 2024. For those of you who are new to our page, my name is Lucrece Aguzma. I am the brand designer here at Invisiate Creative Agency, where we provide creative media solutions for world-class brands like yourself. So feel free to say hi in the comments so I can say hi back. And if you're catching the replay, just put hashtag replay and I will greet you because I'd like to meet you. So thank you so much for joining us today. So we're going to get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about your online presence and just four areas that you should, check for in your online presence. And we're going to go over a lot today. Well, not too much, but, and don't worry, at the end of this presentation, you'll have a free checklist that you can download so you can use it to kind of check what you need to check for your online presence. So there are four areas to consider when you're checking up on your online presence. First, you got to look at your branding, of course. And we spoke about branding extensively last week. So if you have a chance, you can go back and catch the replay on that. And typography, and also the layout and the interactiveness of your website. So let's get right into it. First, let's talk about branding. Let's talk about branding. So when you think about branding in your website, and of course I'm going to show examples to illustrate, you have to think about your message. So this is kind of like a review of last week as well. So is your message clear? Is it consistent? Is it being represented consistently throughout your site? Is your logo high quality, or is it prominently placed on each page? And also, does your imagery represent you and your brand accurately? So you have to think about that when you get on your website, when people get on your website, you have to make sure these things are there. And last week we went into detail extensively on how to craft your message and how to be consistent. We even gave do's and don'ts about your logo, how to use it properly. So be sure to catch the replay on that for those things. Another thing with your branding for your website, and not only your website, but social media, anything online, make sure your color schemes, is it a solid color scheme? Does it connect with your brand? And also your taglines, are you using powerful taglines that engage your user and that can relate to what they need? And also calls to action. Calls to action are very important. And I'm about to illustrate these points to you right now. So let's take a look at this here. This is one of our clients, their website. I just wanted to illustrate these points to you. So as you can see, let's talk about her messaging. Her name is Nikki's Jazzy Sweets. If you don't know her, she's the famous creator of the mac and cheese sweet potato pie. So you can check her out. So notice anything about her is jazzy. Anything about her is jazzy. So you will see that theme recurring all across what she does in her brand. So she's very classy and very elegant. So you'll see it in her fonts. Notice her logo is there. Her messaging is clear. Jazz up your classic recipes, providing clients with jazzy cakes that actually taste good. Notice her colors are consistent. Notice her imagery is consistent as far as her cakes are concerned. Everything looks, put together. So same thing with your website. We have to make sure that everything is put together visually, making sure no matter what page you go to, her logo is always there. So they have to know that they're on your page, no matter what page you go to. So these things are important when you think about your website as far as branding is concerned. All right. So now let's talk about your typography. Typography is the fonts. We went into detail about that too. We spoke about hierarchy, making sure that you have a header font, a subtitle, and a body. So that's what these mean when it talks about headlines. On that first point you see on the slide, you have to use H1, H2, H3. Why? Not only because of the visual aspect of it, but Google uses it to, rank you. So, and to kind of put you in their algorithm. So that's how they do it. Don't just put text out there like that. Make sure it is a heading. Make sure it has a tag for that heading of H1. Make sure it's a paragraph. That's for your keywords and things like that. So all of that is important. So yes, typography is important. Making sure you use those H1, H2, H3 headlines, and you have to have that format. And also, are your fonts readable? We spoke about that as well. We gave some illustrations about that. Making sure that whoever goes on your website, whoever goes on your social, they can read what you're saying. And is it appropriate for your company attitude and your brand voice? All right. And next, the size of all of your headlines and your paragraphs. Is it legible? Is it visually pleasing? And is everything uniform on your website? Okay. So if you take a look at the example I was sharing with you, she passed all the points on these. So yeah, everything is legible. Her fonts matches her classiness, her jazziness. Everything is easily seen. You don't have to squint and try to see what you're saying, unless you're right now on this presentation. But if you go on her website, it's easily readable, and everything is consistent. And she does use, this is what we meant by H1, H2, and H3. Big fonts like this is a heading that's considered an H1. Subtitles, these are considered H2, H3. Okay, and then the paragraph is considered a paragraph. So Google actually ranks these things. So that's why it's important to have hierarchy on your website, because it helps Google out. Okay. All right. So next, let's discuss the layout. Layout is so important. Having a professional layout also helps, people discover you online. And not only that, it's just, it helps people navigate your website a little bit better and can find things. So here's some points I want to share with you, and I'll dig into that since we didn't talk about that last week. Layout width, that's something you always have to monitor all the time, because when things update, laptops update, screens update all the time. The farther on we get into the future, the bigger the screens are, and you have to change those dimensions as you go. So that's why it's important to always update your website at least once a year to make sure everything is on point. So a layout width, let me illustrate what that means. So layout width basically is the width from the left to the right. So notice here on this website, her layout width like starts right here on the left here and on the right. And for some parts, it still extends here, but notice it's still lined up. So layout width is wherever the text is that they can see within the screen. So, before it was really small, like, because, we had small screens, but now since the screens are wider, I think it's up to 1280, the minimum, the least, and then the most you can do is 1600 pixels. 1920 pixels is like the whole screen, because right now that's what most laptops are. Back in the day, it was a little less, but now you have to update that. So I don't know, if you notice, if your website, if you go on there and then you see that all your text is like in the middle and you got like big space on the right and the left, it might be time for you to expand the width. So if you see that, make sure you check that out. Okay. All right. The next thing is, I want to talk about, is it modern? Is your layout clean? Is it easy to read? And is it easy to navigate? So, yeah, that's a big thing. You have to make sure the layout is clean, that you don't have too much going on. I always like to say less is more, and there's beauty in simplicity. So you have to check, make sure that you have padding. Let's talk about padding. I'm going to make this screen a little bigger just to talk about that, because I think padding is important. Padding basically is the space around that you have going on here. And when you have more space around things, it makes, I don't know, it helps your brain process things a little bit better and declutterize. And it helps you focus on what's there. But imagine if you did not have any padding at all, and imagine like this whole thing started on the end here, and then this ended over here, and had no structure. It wouldn't be that visually pleasing. So make sure that your website has padding all around. Last week we spoke about margins as well in your design. That's very important. Very important. And you see how everything is evenly spaced. Make sure there's space between the whatever you're trying to say, because it just helps your brain process better. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Make sure you have padding. Padding is so important. Um, and yeah, try not to stretch it out all the way to the end and it has no structure. Try not to do that. If you have that on your website, try to add some padding. Okay. All right. Next, let's discuss. Um, hold on one second. Let's go back here. Is it organized? So like I told you, like I just showed you, is it organized? Is your content in the sections they are in well organized within the layout? Check that before the year's out. And the homepage, do you have like the most important information on your homepage? There's important things. Your header is important. Making sure you have a lead magnet or a lead form on your homepage. Sometimes, when people go on stuff, they want to see if they need it quickly. So you have to keep their attention really quick, and they might not have time to go and navigate your whole website. So you have to make sure you put all the important things on the home page. And the users have to get a real sense of what you're about and who you are. So that's why we encourage our clients to make sure they have a tagline so at the top that's real big so they know what you do off the bat. Sometimes we try to be creative and clever with our taglines, but we have to make sure that, hey, we need to ensure that you know our clients get what they need. Okay. So the next thing is color scheme. Color scheme. We spoke about that in the last slide. But do you have that solid color scheme, and does it connect with your brand? It has to match your brand. Sub pages are like pages that may fall under a certain category. Let me show you an example of that. Let's take a look at this real quick. So if you see here, you can see her screen here. I'm going to go to her menu page to illustrate what a subpage is. So right here, this is her menu page. So this is the menu page. But, to make that navigation a little easier, we had to create like a sub menu. So when they go on this, either on mobile or on website or on desktop, they can easily navigate between what they want. So basically, a sub menu or a sub page would be something like this, and it'll have a drop down, and it would go to a different page or a different section on the page. So that's what a sub page is. So say for example, you came here and you want to order some cupcakes. Yeah, you go to cupcakes and it will go to that section. But notice this menu is still here, so it's easy to navigate. Let's say you don't want cupcakes and you change your mind, you want to go back to cakes. You can go ahead and click on pound cakes and it'll take you there. So that makes everything easily navigational on your website. And you can do that as well on mobile. So yeah, making sure that you have sub pages. That's important. Next is the footer. The footer is so important. The footer, you should have at least some type of contact information or repetition of what's in your menu. If not, you know, You can put your, your copyright, your terms of conditions, and things like that. And your footer is important in SEO too. So Google look at that. Google looks at everything. If you don't structure your website the right way, they're not even going to rank you. So they're not even going to put you up there. Even if you put your name in there, they won't rank you. So that's why it's important to have a properly structured website. So a footer is important. And navigation, which I just showed you an example, is it easy to find what you're looking for? Landing pages, I'm clicking on things, sub pages, is it easy to find? So that's something you should check for on your website when you do that, before the year's out. All right. And last but not least, let's talk about interactive. We want to make sure, it's not 1995 anymore. It's not 1995, so we got to make sure that things are at least interactive. So some things to look for when you're checking for interactivity are your main menus and your side menus. Is it obvious, like when they roll over, does it turn into a different icon, or like the when you're ready to click a link, or at least does it hover or change color or do some type of animation on that for your menus. Your show or hide features, these are like drop down. I'm gonna show you some example of that in a few because she has that on her website. Do you utilize show and hide and expand? Because sometimes you don't want to put long text on your website, so you have to break it down into pieces so it can be easily digestible for the user and just easy to navigate. All right. Do you use buttons? Are your buttons, when you roll over your buttons, does it change color, or does the hand icon show that okay, this is clickable? Calls to action, that includes the buttons, that includes other items for calls to action. Does it direct the user by taking them to the action that you want them to do? So if you want them to purchase something, you have to be clear, like buy this. If you want them to download something, download whatever it is. You have to be very clear and purposeful in that. And then anything that's clickable, it can be a picture. You don't have to make every image clickable, but if you want to, you can do that and link it to something else. But your links, your buttons, they have to be clickable and go to the right places. So check your links. That happens to all of us. Sometimes our links don't work. So we have to double check those things. And then social icons. Are you utilizing your social media icons and others either in your header or your footer? So if you put it in your header, you probably don't have to put it in your footer, but I recommend putting it in the footer, just to keep the header clean. And let me show you what I mean by interactivity here. All right. So when you look at interactivity, it includes like when you hover over the menus, does it indicate like okay, I can click this? Same thing here with the buttons. And there's this is what I meant by show hide buttons. Like if you expand this, this is how you know what pricing options she has on her page. So if you wanted pudding and you wanted more information about pudding, so instead of just putting a whole list of everything on one thing in text, you use show and hide features to highlight what you want to do. So you can do that here and you're able to get that information from there. Another type of call to action that you can use is it's called like a hover effects, just to make things cool and nice. So let me scroll down to that section here. So for example, these are calls to action. You can use these just to make it look nice, and it indicates that hey, I can click on this button here, and it'll take you there if you want to order it. All right. So see, right now she don't have no cake jar, so you already know. But if you wanted to get something else, you could get something else. All right. So that's it. That's it for interactive. So I have homework for you. I have some homework for you here. So your homework is to download the website audit checklist. And let me put that in the comments for you. You can download this for free. It's a checklist that we've created for you. You can go ahead and download that, so you can get your beautiful website. It covers all of these points, so you could use this as a checklist to go down and look at your website and say, hey, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And also, if you need help with your website, you can also schedule a free discovery call. Maybe you need like a whole overhaul and you need some help. We can also help with that. If you want that, just schedule a free discovery call with us here. So you can download this free website checklist. Once we're done, I'm gonna make sure I pin it in the comments. And yeah, and if you want to schedule a free discovery call, you can visit www.investigatecreative.com/quick links. We love to give makeovers and things like that. And we do have a few specials available, so we can share that with you as well. So thank you so much for joining. And it's a pleasure. Hopefully this was valuable. So see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to get into the tech tools that you need for 2024, making sure that you have these tools in your bag for 2024 on your website. So we're going to give you like the back end of what tools you need to make sure you're on point. All right. So thank you so much for joining us today and have a great one.